Hello, everyone, and welcome to the last week of 7211. I know that we've gone through a lot, ranging back from week 1 where we talked about statistical literacy and how is that really defined and what does that mean to us as pedagogues, as professionals, and as researchers in education. From there we really shifted towards sampling and looking at demographics and how do we chop up studies and look at it from different angles, different subgroups, if you will, and the characteristics thereof to ensure that we have some findings on the back end that might be statistically relevant, or to dive deeper and compare between subgroups, whether it be male, female, low achievers, high achievers, many different possibilities there. So those demographics are incredibly important, as is the lens with which you actually, pursue your sampling and your sampling rate and so forth, ranging from those that use statistics, from simple randomized samples, all the way to those that are more of convenience or practical. We're classroom teachers, so sometimes we can't always do randomized sampling. We have a class of students in front of us, and we're going to utilize those the best that we can. So sometimes for convenience or even purposive sampling suits our practices best. From there, we really tackled into week 3 into instrumentation, meaning both formal and informal instruments, those that are standardized or even non-standardized. And we talked about issues of reliability and validity, and even the instruments that we can create ourselves, because sometimes teachers are primed to do so, and we know the context better than anybody else. I often advocate for a combination of both formal and informal instruments in order to really add and solidify our data sets on the back end so that we can actually provide evidence base for the conclusions that we have. Using some instruments that have worked over time and sort of been viewed as rigorous and can stand the test of time, so to speak. From there, we just finished out with univariate analysis and thinking about ANOVAs and how do we also look at post hoc analysis. So as we talked about before, the ANOVAs were looking at 3 or more groups of people and comparing those. It could be an intervention or it could be different groups. So let's say, for example, we had some folks, 3 different groups of people, all 3rd graders. One was getting a traditional reading intervention by print. One was getting a hybrid group, and one was getting a fully online group. And we could look at, compare and contrast their performance. So we could do an ANOVA, an analysis of variance in ANOVA to compare those results. If we only had 2 groups, we could simply do a t-test and look at effect sizes and so forth. So we also talked briefly about bias and interaction effects. I'm not going to talk about too much about that. Those are other options that can be performed within SPSS when looking at ANOVAs, but understanding the nuances there is important too. We're transitioning now into multivariate analysis, which you will cover slightly in this class, but also further in 7901, the last statistics class as part of this program. And I just want you to try to focus on the differences and the nuances between ANOVAs and MANOVAs and MANCOVAs. So when we talk about covariates, or even we talk about multiple analysis of variance, so MANOVA and so forth. So we've done a lot. We've traveled a journey so far in just this last month. We've had rich discussions in VoiceThread and blogs, and even discussion boards through the activities that you've been able to practice, try to refine your applied statistical knowledge and your abilities thereof. Please note that the final exam is going to be open. Basically, I'm going to do it 3 days. I said 2 days before. I'm going to open it up 3 days. The beginning of this weekend on Friday, so that you're able to have ample time to be able to do this. It's going to be due July 2nd by midnight, so please allocate some time to be able to do that. It's going to be a case study, and you're going to analyze, basically design a study, and then set up your data collection and analysis and research questions. So basically you can align all of those to sort of analyze this case so that you can be able to use the same approach in your own instruction and educational practices thereof. I look forward to the rich discussions this week as always, and I hope to talk to you soon. Take care.